All right, so thank you for joining EB Education Consult on our tips for study abroad session. Today we'll be looking at the topic essaying your postgraduate admission and assistantship interview into the universities of USA. And today I have with me Ebenezer Boachi, who has been a consistent contributor, devoting his time and resources to help our audience to learn more about the school's application processes, funding, and also excelling in their interview towards admission in the United States. And so we want to appreciate his effort so much. And with him, we have Emanuela Safowa Bredu.
Yeah.
Emanuela is the first timer here, but she's been supporting uh, our programs from afar. And today we have brought her into the limelight. And they're going to take us through the interview processes, how to prepare for the interview, what to do and expect during the interview, and post-interview, what you need to do. I know that many people have already filed the applications to study various postgraduate programs in the United States of America, pending um, feedback from the universities and all that. And as part of the processes, some of the universities will require that candidates go through interview. So they say ladies first. I would want Emanuela to introduce herself in details, and then we'll come to Eben for one more time. He will tell us and then share his interview experience with us, since he has gone from masters in the USA to PhD in the USA. So Emanuela, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Boateng. I'm happy to be here to share my experiences here. Like Dr. Boateng mentioned earlier, my name is Emanuela Sapoa Bredu.
Share my experiences here.
I'm
Like
currently a PhD student at the
earlier,
University of Georgia, specializing in horticulture. And then my academic journey has been pioneered by passion and for research and also the need to shape the systems and dynamics of our food system. So that's a little bit about me here. Have I answered the question, Dr. Boateng?
Yes, please, you have. And now to Eben.
All right, thank you very much. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so like you already said, my name is Ebenezer, and I'm a doctoral student at the University of Georgia, Athens. So my program is College Student Affairs Administration, but the main pole of the program is PhD in student education and concentrating in college student administration, college student affairs administration. My current research interest centers on the experiences of international students in the United States, as well as the basic needs insecurities such as food insecurity, accommodation insecurity, financial insecurities, and their impact on minoritized students, which under that category we have international students and students from other minoritized groups. So these are basically where my current research interest lies. Yeah, I finished my master's at Indiana State University before coming here in the same program. So these are my little background to my current state. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And is admission process still ongoing for these study programs, Emanuela and Eben?
Okay. I think yes. If you check some of the university websites, for my program, Crop and Soil Sciences, we have I think February 15th as the deadline. So you can still make it, yes. You can apply and still make it. I don't know about Eben.
And Eben, is it
Yes,
same for your program?
yes, the admission is still open, but I'm not sure whether our hours is ending on either the 5th or the 15th, the same as Emanuela's own, but admission is still open between now and I think 5th of
Oh.
this month. Yeah.
So I think that our listeners can also
Yes.
quickly check on
Yeah.
the program's website and see. Yeah. So for those who have already applied, kudos to them, and those who are yet to apply, wish them the best of luck. But also, I feel this session will still be relevant to everyone, irrespective of when they intend to apply for studies in the United States, because the interview is interview, and whether it's going to happen in 5 years or tomorrow, it's still an interview that will be relevant for admission purposes. So I will start with Eben. Can you take us through your um your interview experience? And I'm talking about interviews specifically for admission and assistantship. In our previous sessions, we learned that you got fully funded opportunity to study your master's program, and as a requirement, you underwent an interview session. And also you have fully funded PhD studentship or assistantship, and also that required an interview session. So combining these two situations, can you enlighten us on how your experience has been regarding the interview session?
Okay. Thank you. I think both session with the master's program, I had interview and I interviewed with the Office of Residential Life. So I interviewed as an assistant hall director, and I got that opportunity. In that interview, it was only about assistantship. So you know that there are difference between interviewing for program in admission and the different and assistantship, where
Assistantship,
the
okay.
program basically focus about your faiths, your background, your academic backgrounds, maybe your research interest, on those things come together to make up your academic interview. Then, on the other hand, the assistantship also covers your faith, your leadership skills, your mentorship, your professional backgrounds, and how you have worked throughout, and what skills you have gathered over the time that makes you a great fit for the current position you are applying to. So that is what's centered on my interview at the master's level. And I quite remember that there are when you are for the residential life assistantship, they take you through a series of case studies or scenarios, because you are going to oversee students, like a building of about my building like this. I had 360 undergraduate students. So I was a hall director, assistant hall director for that building. And so they asked me about your background, your who you are. They want to know you in a brief, and from there they took me through my fit, why I am interested in the position, and what skills or what things am I bringing on board, what new thing, how can I contribute to the department's goals, as well as what importance will this position give to me. So, what opportunities will those positions give to me? And so, I think that if you want me to go through how I responded, I can. But if you want also these are I vividly remember these questions, and so that's how they took me through, and then coming to the doctoral program too. It was a combined interview. So we have preview day, where some schools call it open day, where they have a Zoom session for all students. You engage with the current students and the faculty members, those professors, as well as some of the administrators, and they ask you your interest in the program, why are you interested in the program, what backgrounds, which professor have you identified, potential supervisor, why, and maybe, I mean, how does your research interest or your career path align with the program that you have applied to. So on that line too, you have to take them through. And when I did that, from there, then so on the assistantship, I did two times because I think they had issues with they were changing some things in the department, and so they had to make sure that the position they are making me occupy is I become a great fit for how they are, because they have restructured it, and so the first interview they did, they had to do another one so that it
Very
caters for, yes, what they think that they should know some other things about me. So the first day I did two interviews, two in one interview. After
okay.
you do the program one, then after the program you do specific for assistantship as well. So that's how that one, and with that one too, it's the doctoral assistantship interviews are not, I mean, they are not so much different from the masters in terms of the questions, but the response you give should show a certain level of maturity. As a doctoral student, aspiring doctoral student, you should be able to just differentiate yourself between yourself and a master's level of thinking, and how you, when response are being, when questions are being given, they are elicited for a response that shows that you are a good fit for the program as well as the assistantship. So on the question, on the line of questions, there are not so much difference, but responses should indicate who a doctoral student is and who a master student is. That's these are the kind of differences that I saw. And so when I did that, for me, I got opportunity for two schools, Purdue in my current school, and I made my option. I made a choice. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I have questions. I have comments here suggesting that you should answer the questions, or you should present the how you responded to those questions. But we will come to that. We will come to that. My brief question about it is that how is the nature of the interview? Is it a one-on-one with the faculty member, or there's a panel and each of them take turns and stuff?
At the master's level, I had only one person, but the subsequent years, the guys who came after me, they had panels.
Okay.
So it changes with time. But the doctoral level, at all sessions, I had more than one people. Like the doctoral level, I had all the faculty members, four of them, and I mean for the program admission, and the assistantship, I had two. So
On both
even
occasions, on both occasions of the assistantship interview, because you said you had two of the assistantship interview. On
the
both occasions, did you have two people?
The first day, assistantship interview, I had two. The second
Mhm.
day, one.
Oh, okay.
So I think that the second day was when they were certain on of who they want me to work with directly.
Oh, okay. So
And that
then
person
you.
had to come again. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And but in the, even with the admission as well, for the first day, I had two sessions where I had time with all the four faculty members, and then later on, the my potential supervisor, yes, I had another one-on-one with the potential supervisor. So two for admission, and then first two for GA, then the another day one. Yeah, that's how it
Okay.
was.
Thank you very much. Manuela, any addition?
Well, he said it all, and I would I would talk more about the tips for interview. That is before an interview, during an interview, and after an interview. If you want me to proceed, I can.
Yes, please. And then we will start first with what applicants should ensure or should do before the interview date or session. I will start with you and then come to Eben on that same. Maybe if you leave something out, he will come to talk about it.
Okay.
And then I will start during the interview from Eben. You get it, right? So we have three categories. You start the first, he will add to it, and then he will start the second, and you add to it.
Okay, makes sense. Okay. Um, Before you start an interview, I will personally advise that you read about the principal investigator, the PI's paper, at least five of the papers. It will give you the research interest of it, the type of work they do, and sometimes too, some school have a website that produces that have that kind of information. So when you go there, you see the PI's name, research interest, and then also as well as some published journals. So these are very important to take note of. And also, I would prefer that also you learn about some of the instruments and software the lab uses because those can really go a long way to help you. And I know I'm a Ghanaian, so some of us are not really exposed to these softwares and high technology and all that. It's not our fault, but an extra information can be very advantageous. You understand? And also, one thing I want us to look at is some terms like people get themselves confused with a lot of terminologies. And the first thing I want us to take a look at is assistantship. Assistantship here is like working under a professor for a specific number of hours. So it can be 10 to 20 hours. But sometimes in summer you can go like 40 hours. So assistantship, and we also have scholarship. Scholarship is like a monetary award given to you based on your academic merit or talent, and also fellowship. Fellowship is like that one. In fellowship, the student has the liberty to exploit their research and all that, but they are not required to work for 10 or 20 hours and all that, depending on that type of fellowship. So you get students confusing themselves, especially if you're coming to the US for the first time. I've gotten a scholarship. It might not be necessarily a scholarship, it can be an assistantship or a fellowship. So please take note of these definitions that can help you. For assistantship, you are required to work alongside with your coursework. That one, if you tell a lot of people that, oh, I'm working, they will say, hey, you're making a lot of money then. No, the assistantship is that whilst you work under the professor for that time and whatever, you are also supposed to continue with your school courses and all that. So, and the assistantship have two categories. We have the teaching assistantship and the research assistantship. I'll start with the teaching assistantship. We call it the G. People say G or GTA. So with the GTA, it's like you are teaching, and then one thing you need to know is that you can be assigned to teach graduate and undergraduate students. So I will advise that you need to prepare yourself well. Always be one step ahead of the graduates of the students when you are applying for graduate teaching assistantship because you'll be teaching, and also you should have the ability to explain certain concepts. It's a skill. You need to develop it. I'm not saying you can start working on that though, but you need to develop as time goes on. You need to develop it, and also note some of the teaching style or teaching approach. We have a lot of interactive, auditory, visual, and then we have the flip classroom and all those things. Note the interactive session and all that. Learn a bit about them and introduce them into your teaching because during the interview they will ask you, have you taught before? Then you're sitting there, no, but at least let the professor know. Like, I'll come back to the doing the interview, but you should get some foreknowledge on that for the graduate teaching assistantship. For the research assistant, as it states, it's research based, so you would need a lot of knowledge on your statistics, when to use certain designs and all that, how to plan an experiment. Um, yes, all those things can be taught during the coursework, but having a foreknowledge can be advantageous. And some professors these days also start with, have you published? Have you published? I remember my interview, my advisor asked, have you published? Yes, publication is key. It's also an added advantage, but it doesn't mean that go and do some shabby work and post it out there, because at the end of the day, it's your integrity that is at stake. So it's okay not to have a publication, but having a good publication is key. So that is some of the things I want us to look at.
And so, if, for example, you have a publication, or if you need to gain some experience or skills in teaching, in gaining this, how would it be useful, towards the interview? For example, if I have made a publication and there's going to be an interview and expecting question about my publication, should I, maybe it might have been some years ago or whatever, I need to refresh my memory on it in case questions come from this publication, how I designed the research and all those. I could be able to, I can manage to answer. Is that the case?
Yes, it's the case. In my case, I didn't have a publication, but my research dissertation.
Mm-hmm,
I remember he asked me questions on my research dissertation. That is my undergraduate, because I had it
mm-hmm,
on my CV, my
mm-hmm,
and my graduate study. So questions
mm-hmm,
were asked. I think my undergraduate was effect of different packaging and storage on partially processed tomato. So he was asking me, so which of the packaging is best? Like, want to know whether you are a master, you really did this research.
mm-hmm.
Do you
Great,
understand? Yeah.
great. Yeah,
And then
that's
as
what.
to why did you use why did you use CRD factorial? Why not the so all these things he wants to know whether you have an understanding of whatever you did. And for
Mm-hmm,
I don't know, let me chip into this. I know some for tech. I remember some people do their dissertation in groups. So you have to be very, very smart about it. Because if they ask you, you say, I didn't write any dissertation, is a red flag actually. Be say
mm-hmm,
that you can use certain key terms like I collaborated with some of my colleagues to write a dissertation because we're a lot. This is quite more presentable than you saying I did not write that. So it's not your fault that you didn't write the dissertation because you were a lot, but you should know how to play with words to make it look good on you. I don't know whether you understand what I'm trying
yeah,
to
I
say.
understand. Apparently, as the sole author of the work, that is not the case, but you did it in group, so you can still present it as your work. And I agree with you that it's a very important. Great.
Yeah.
I will go to, if you are done on the preparation aspect, I will go to Eben to add what probably he wants to add to that aspect.
Yeah. You can go ahead. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, so that is very true. And in addition to that, there are some other things that you should also take into consideration if you are interviewing for whether a program admission or graduate assistantship, whichever assistantship, research, teaching, or professional or office work, there are these things you should take note of. The mission, vision, and values or goals of the program or office or department you are going to work for, or even the university, is very important. There is one key thing that they are so much conscious about. They always want to find out how your contributions will align with the school's goals or the school's mission, because there are categorization of the universities here. Every university fall under any of the categorizations. If it's a R1 research intensive universities, they are so much focused on research. So you need to look at what or kind of research interest that the university want to achieve, or even your department, because every department mission emanates from the broader goals of the university. So you may not necessarily have, looked at the university's mission or goals, but the department goals are very essential so that you weave them into your talks, like
Sponsors.
your presentation or your speech. So like you need to align all your speech to the goals of the department or the mission or the what values they hold dear to, so that it will help you. That is how you are going to align, if it especially in terms of values, you are talking about what kind of career professional you want to grow or develop yourself into. What kind of expectation or what kind of services do you want to give to people? If you are going to maybe work as a teacher, whichever responsibility or anything that you want to do when you come out is a service you are rendering to the world or people. So these are the things that the universities have used to build their goals, and therefore those target goals should sink into your skills or your expectation. You should also be mindful and read about the position's responsibility or expectation and the required skills. There are responsibilities. Okay, as a result of this office is this, that, and this position, they will do this, and that. And there are some expected skills or required skills. When you read some of the assistantship roles, there are general expectations as well as specific. So that is one thing that we should take note of. For instance, like working in the residential office, when you enter into the residential office, there's a residential curriculum developer. There are residential leadership something something. Even though they are all in res life or residential, but there are specific roles for which assistantship they are hiring. Therefore, you should be able to know the general expectation of all the res life graduate assistants. So there's that general one. Then you come to specific. Some of them they state it specific to this role. So they say general and then specifics. Therefore, you should be able to capture some of the related things that align with you, that you are familiar with. Mostly, these are some of the things that I do. Sometimes, because it's a cultural differences, sometimes you may not have understood some of the terms like Ella said. You may not have understood it, but generally, there are general of them, a lot of them too, that you understand. They make sense. They are, common knowledge in the world. For instance, effective communication. You don't need like anything to understand what we effective communication. At least you know communication. But if there's a qualification like a qualifier like effective, therefore you should be able to understand. Go to Google and type in what is effective communication. No one need to teach you this, and they will not come and teach you. But you go and talk about it. Okay, what are some of the skills, or they will ask you, what are some of your strengths? You can tell them, thank you, I am an effective communicator. But you are telling that you are effective communicator, but the way you are communicating with them will show whether you are effective communicator or not. So some of these things, you should be smart about them, like Ella has already indicated. You should be smart in how you align yourself. Don't go and lie about things you are not good at. Okay? Because even just your interaction with them will reveal you, will tell them that what you are saying is not true. Do you know how to communicate well? Do you know how to talk with different type of people? Okay, and some let me still dwell on even the rest life case. For instance, you are going to work with human beings, different people from different backgrounds. They ask you some expected responses that you keywords like inclusivity is important. You are very sociable or approachable. Okay, people can confront you when they have a challenge. When you will try to start bringing this up, then it will send a signal that this is someone that he is willing to. I am always fascinated about knowing people. When I go to gathering, I want to shake hands and know the background of some of the attendees, and meet new people makes me excited so that I can learn from their background, their cultural background, their ideologies. These are some of the essentials when you are going to work with human beings like and the university settings. These are the qualities they express if you are going to work as a teaching assistant or as an office assistant. You will be meeting and working with students and professionals. So they expect some of these humanistic values to work with. And in this, you should line with issue. You have a background. Let me come back to say this. When you are talking about whenever you are asked some of the common questions that you should expect. You should read about some of the expected questions. These are common. Tell me about yourself. The whole world, when you go for any interview, they will ask you, tell me about yourself. So I shouldn't come and tell you that at
So
interview,
for,
tell me about yourself.
so for example, what does that mean? I know I have an idea, but
Yes.
in short sense, what does that mean to the
So
interviewer?
telling
Interviewee.
Yes, telling about yourself, give them a brief background of your education. Don't go to the high schools, start from the bachelor's. And then just a brief, because assistantship is not for admission, for a program admission. When you are doing program admission, you should lay much emphasis on your background in terms of education. But for instance, places where you are going to work in lab or in the university settings, let them know that you did a program in laboratory science or whatever. So okay,
Okay.
for instance, for
Okay.
me,
So I think my question led you into the second half
yes.
of our discussion, but now let's come back to the preparation, what needs
Yes,
to be
at the
done
preparation
prior.
also, you should also be able to know which type of person or people you are going to work with within that department and the offices, so that during the time of your talking or during the time of the interview, you can weave reference some of the things. Go to the department website and look at what things they are doing. Is there something new there? When you are talking and you bring some of these things, it will like elicit some other, like some feeling for them to know, oh, you are curious to know about this. You have gone to the extent of reading about this new project we are doing or this program that we do. Then it tells them that this is someone who is serious and you want to know more about it when we want to work with you. These are the things that work. You have already mentioned, indicated in your preparation, prior to your application, you want to work with this professor. You only looked at it. I mean, sometimes what I do, some of their research, you cannot access them, but you can find some abstract or books and even titles of their works, just the title of their research publications and their books they've written or their lab works. Be familiar with some of at least one or two of them so that it become a key. You hammer it. When you are talking, you reference to it. Oh, for instance, Dr. Ku's work in this international student organization or international students beta experience and how they turn into this really resonate with me, because reading it on it and how the responses or the result they got is something that really fascinates me. That's why I'm very much interested in to know more about some of these experiences that international students are going through. So in this situation, you are talking about whether if you are going to work as a teaching assistant, as a research assistant, or you are interviewing for program assistant. So that is how it works. Research based on what you are going to do. Read about the department or people you are going to work with. I think Ella has already said it, so that it will weave into the actual period of interview. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Osmond couldn't join us for important reasons, and he sent me prior some additional information, which I
So,
think have not come out
okay.
up during your
I, wa-
submission. So
I want to be quick to mention this. Oh, okay. I don't I don't know whether you are about to say that. Prior to also your interview, you should visit your resume and your cover letters that you use, or the essays that they made you write to apply for those positions you have applied to, because it is based on that they will use to interview you. They don't have any information about you. But what you have presented to them is what they are going to use to interview you. Like just like I said about the visa application thing. The
application,
same
yeah.
way goes to the GA and the program admissions. So whatever you present, you need to be mindful to keep that particular resume that you submitted for you to be accepted into the program or the position for interview, so that you will mention some of them, because they will use that to ask you questions, and then you will not be found wanting during that time. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. I will come back to you for the what to do during the interview. But before then, these are what Osmond sent to be read to our audience. He says applicant can inquire about when replying to interview invitation. One, interview agenda and or what to expect. Two, format of interview. That is how many interviewers, like I ask and you clarify. And then three, time, especially the different time zones. So you must know this and ensure that. And also he said, plan for serene place, good internet, power, PC with good battery. Dress well, be confident, and relax in your submission so that you can be heard clearly. Due to their accent, you can ask them to repeat the question in case you didn't get it for the first time. So this is his addition to your submission. This is going great and thank you. If you have any quick comment on this, you can bring it before we go to the second stage of our discussion.
Yes, on that, I think what I've witnessed about some of our people is that they try to like wanting to sound like an American for them to know that you understand you are a very good English speaker. I told some folks that I had a time with that they are also preparing for the graduate assistantship. I told them, be yourself, speak your Nigerian English, speak your Ghanaian English, but understand that the essence of language is communication. The essence of communication is to lay information. Therefore, if you are unable to lay the information, the essentials of what we want to hear or what we need to hear, you are not a good communicator. It is not about rattling like a parrot. That shows that you are good at English. But there are certain things that they need. Be able to make sure that take your time and speak because they understand the cultural difference that our language, even though we speak our English, but it is not like the native speakers. Therefore, they know, and you are not the first person they have interviewed. Therefore, don't try to be in a hurry nor slow. Be at a pace that you are having a free conversation with people, that you are chatting with them, that you want to tell them something. And all the way that you do, if you try to imitate them, you will get lost. You get
True.
lost. So be yourself and speak at a pace that will let people have a free, like natural conversations zone. The other one is also about people when, like Osmond submission talked about, have a good quality internet connection, have a good lighting system, and the background noise should not be there. So this is a one-time thing. You can be able to get a place that is very comfortable for you, or if it's a friend's place or whichever place that will help you to have a good lighting system, a quality camera phone. Sometimes some people borrow phones to take pictures, but when it comes to some of these important, crucial things, you can't beg your friend for phone to do online interview. I wonder what is wrong with some of our people. Okay, but when it's about let's snap, let's take and post it on Facebook, you borrow your friend's iPhone, whatever. But when it's time for you to borrow friend for quality things that will have a life-changing moment, you are not ready for that. Yet you want to travel. All these things come to play when it comes to your preparation. So be very mindful. The other thing too is people hide behind cameras. For instance, in my case, when during the time I was having interview, the network was glitchy. So what she told me to off my camera because she has seen me for some first 10 minutes. So she said I should off my camera so that the internet will be stable. Then I tell people, don't whenever they tell you to off your camera, don't hide behind the camera and read a script to them. People read the script as if, and they think that those who are interviewing them are not
They're
human
so
beings.
smart.
Yes, they are smart to know when you are reading. Even with me, when I did mock interview with people, they off their cameras and they start reading the script to me. And I told him to on. I tell them to on their cameras, and I tell them, you are preparing for your own destiny. It is not about trying to please me, but letting me know what you lack so that I can be able to help you is important. So don't read script to them. And even like this, when I'm talking to you, my phone is before me and I refer to something you may not know. Okay, there are ways of referring to things. If you are not good at that, don't try. Try to have that normal conversation that will be able to like let people know how you are okay with yourself expressing your views. Thank you.
You continue because you've already dived into the what to do during the interview. But what I wanted to say, in addition to what you have all said, is that yes, the accent sometimes can be an issue. But even with the Indians, they interview them, so you can imagine that we are okay. Just take your time to speak a bit slower than you would normally do in order to help them understand. You know how slow I speak, right? But when I was in Czech Republic and I had white friends, they were telling me I speak too fast. I'm like, in my country, everybody says I speak slow, so I don't know what you mean. But I realized that because of the accent, I needed to just speak a bit more slower for them to understand. So if that applies, you have to do that. You even realize that sometimes when the white people speak to you, it takes some few seconds for you to really catch exactly what they are saying. And that is the reason why I'm saying that you can also adapt a way to speak a bit slower, not necessarily trying to speak in their accent to be heard. Thank you, Eben. So carry on.
One thing too is to sink in to dive into the actual interview time.
Yes.
I had the opportunity to to be with a group where they were talking about an interview, and this is an indigent, not even our people. This is a normal interview time. And on the Zoom interview like this, people are flexible, like the way I took water is permissible, it's allowed.
Yeah.
But the professor was like, during the interview, this lady was popping, doing chewing popcorns, and we fidgeting the phone here and there, and see that kind of thing. You're out. You are out. Okay. So in instances where you think that maybe your voice is deep in, a sip of water is okay, but that's not
Thank
where
you. Thank you for giving me the tip. I'm going to get water. Thank you.
Okay, so let's come to the actual time of the interview. There are some things that you should expect. I know Ella will talk about some of them, but some common things that you should know. I've mentioned earlier about tell me yourself. Can you tell us something about yourself and why you are interested in this program? It can be the question can come in twofold or one. Can you tell us a brief about yourself? Or can you tell me about yourself and why you applied to this program? That is one. Whenever you hear about tell me yourself and why you apply to this program, or just simply question the simple question, tell me about yourself, it takes you into the arena of briefly taking them into three main areas: your academic background, your professional, and your leadership backgrounds. These are the three main areas that you should take them through. Okay, tell me about yourself question. Be very attentive to listen to what they are saying because of, like I said, the diction and the accent. You may not be, if care is not taken, you keep on asking, can you come again? Can you come again? You become boring. Be very attentive to listen to the question. Tell me about yourself. Walk them through your bachelor's or your first degree, and then your leadership backgrounds as well as your professional background. These are the essential things that you do. In so doing, you should bring out the various essential skills and experiences that resonate or that relate with the program or the assistantship position you have applied to. So, for instance, you have applied to maybe student success program or student success officer at GA. You should know that you should have read to know that student success basically do how to help students to succeed in the academic pursuit. For instance, you do programs like mentorship, programs like learning skills, programs like how to solve some exam questions, something like leadership development, networking. These are essential. Therefore, when you are talking about this, you should build yourself to have a link with these essentials. That's the responsibilities and the skills. For instance, okay, Ebenezer, can you tell us a bit about yourself and why in this program? Then I go like this. Thank you. My Anna, and I had my bachelor's in education from the University of Cape Coast, where I read Bachelor of Education in Religion and History. From my after my bachelor's, I had the opportunity to work on campus as a maybe if you are teaching assistant or administrative assistant as a teaching assistant, where I had the opportunity to assist my professor in preparing for class. And also, aside from that, I also had the opportunity to mentor students, organize tutorials on how to solve some basic calculus principle questions, as well as maybe how to do group work. So you see, you are weaving the position's requirement into your experience. So you are not only telling them about yourself, I like it. No, you are being crafty. Craft the position into your background. Even though I'm telling them my background, but you see how I am really putting the job requirement into my background. Because I've told you that I have the opportunity to work with a faculty member or a professor. In the student success, you are going to work with professors and your supervisors to develop programs for students. You have told them that you organize tutorials. So it means that working with students on campus or university students is nothing new to you because you are also going to work in student success office. You are going to work and mentor students, help them, those who are going through some academic challenges. So how to time management, so all these are things that you will say at the end of the day, you come to build. So as I keep going on. Again, I also organize some basic tutorial for students on basic essential for undergraduate students. Some issues or the topics that we treated are time management skills. I took students through how they should manage their time so that they can meet deadlines and work on their projects. Again, I also help students to network among themselves so that they can form small groups and teach each other whenever they need such assistance. With that, it built the students' confidence. And with this, some of the students who were lacking in some basic principle topics or who were not understanding some topics came to later on elevated their learning styles. Okay, so these are the things. You see how I am building my background. The tell me yourself. I have used the tell me yourself to let them know that myself align well with the program. With this, you come and then maybe they can also ask like if it's not about tell me yourself and why you are interested in the program, or they split it why you are interested in this position. You tell them within this position too, these are some of the strategy. You can tell them basically the everything, the obvious thing most people will say that my passion. I am passionate about helping students on campuses to overcome certain challenges. So basically, you can let them know it's your passion. It aligns with your passion, your background as someone who had education, because you are going to work with education students. your background, your professional background, your leadership, and your career aspiration. So you can weave this while you are interested in the program. Okay, Ebenezer, can you tell us why did you apply to this office or this position? Thank you very much. This is an important question. I applied to this position because, first of all, this is a passion that I have longed to live for. Helping students has been one of my greatest passion, and I am always happy interacting with students during my time. So this thing I am bringing myself, my say maybe a bitter experience. You can bring your personal experience if it is something that you have overcome. It is not like don't sell your weakness, but this listen to how I am going to bring in my experience. During my undergraduate time, I really suffered for the first 2 years, and I didn't know who to talk to or how I can overcome certain challenges that I'm going through on campuses. As a result, I gradually, through reading and activating my social capital on campuses, I was able to connect with some of my peers. And when I started learning with them, it came to help me with this group work. As a result, I have come to understand that it is there are other students who are who are undergoing through some of these challenges, and it is one of my topmost priorities to help students to overcome some of these challenges. That is why I see this position to resonate well with me. That is a career I've taken upon myself. Ultimately, I want to become a professor. As a professor, I want to be that kind of professor who students always love to run to when they are going through certain challenges. I want to become that professor is always, prioritizing students and putting students first on their table, knowing that there are a lot of students who have various backgrounds. Not all students are the same. People from different backgrounds undergo through a lot of things, and therefore, if I see myself in this very position, that will uplift me to that level. Again, at my professional level as a teacher, I help students during my time at the college level, or maybe if you were teaching at the high school. So at my time at Aguna SDA Senior High School like this, I can bring this in. During my time as a teacher or as a high school teacher, students were able to come to me with their challenges. A typical example that I can cite is when some students confronted me with their challenge that they don't understand some of the mathematics and science topics that they are doing. Even though at that time I was not a science or math teacher, but my ability to mobilize and talk to some of my colleague teachers to volunteer to teach these students to take them through the challenges they were going through showcase that student priority is my concern. Having students overcome their challenges in academics is a prime concern to me. And so I see that the Student Success Office is something or is a position that will help me to learn well and also help me to translate some of the basic skills that I have acquired, as well as making these skills a profession. Because I know that I have that passion to help students, but I don't know how to professionalize it. And working under my supervisors and helping students, I think I can become a better, maybe career advisor or a better professor in the near future. So you see how I have built this. You have told about a collaboration because you told initiative that you brought up in organizing your teachers or your colleague teacher to help students, even though that was not your field. You see, helping people or leadership skills that not necessarily require you to be a direct, person to help, the direct source of help. But raising or initiating some help for students shows how you prioritize students' needs. So that's some leadership skills like collaboration, because Student Success Office, you collaborate with different offices on campus. You collaborate with different professors. Professors will reach out to your office about students that are going through certain challenges that they need help. So it will come to your table to help them. These are collaboration. What initiative have you taken upon yourself? Helping students about time management, so you have taken them through. Meanwhile, you have told them about the tell me yourself, but you have used the tell me yourself in just about 3 minutes to kill the whole interview. And so they will come back to tell you, okay, Ebenezer, I heard you mention about some of the things that you have done, but can you take me back? You see, they know that I've said it, but they want me to stress that aspect. This is where you are having the opportunity to explain vividly how you use that initiative. So this is how some of time they have used your first 2 minutes to dot the essential things they are looking for from you, and they want to hear about it again. That is how the interview works. So tell me about yourself is a question that is simple. By the eliciting the response, take them through your background. Take them through your background in terms of maybe your education, your profession, and leadership, and sometimes your personal thing that you have gone through. I have always said that do not use interview skills, interview time to sell our continent and our cultures negatively to people. Don't use that. If you are telling people about your background, if a better experience you went through, tell them about the resilience, how you overcame. That's their interest. A challenge that you went through and how you overcame that challenge. That is the essential thing. But what I've witnessed over time is how people are always selling ourselves, denigrating our cultures and our background and our system there. Meanwhile, that is what has trained you to gain their interest in interviewing you. And yet we are selling them negative to them. So I think those are some of the things. Another important, some of the questions that um, you should think about is about your strength in terms of oh, okay. Your strength.
Oh
Tell us.
no, no, no. I want you to continue. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us about your strength. What are your strength? Know that sometimes they will ask your strength and come back to your weakness. There are ways. When you are talking about your strength, mostly relate your strength to the job requirement. If it is a rest life job, you are sure to talk about leadership skills. What is leadership skills? We are talking about if any good leader has a very effective communication skills as an inclusive person who solicit the views and ideas or minds of all their people. You should know you are a team player or a team worker or a team leader. As a team leader, you know how to initiate things, you know how to, collaborate with people, mentor people. That is teamwork. You also help to, hello? Okay, so that is how you talk about, as well as when you talk about your leadership, you also talk about some things like your communication, your initiatives, and your professional skills that you have garnered over time. So try to infuse your strength with the qualities, the required skills or the duties of the position that you have applied to. It is not everything that you have gone through that is important to the position you have applied to. So don't be mentioning a lot of things. I was this, I was that. That's not important. But you were this, you were that, you were that. Out of that, what things did you learn, and how do you think it translates into the position you have applied to? So, for instance, I was after my bachelor's, I served as an administrative assistant for 1 year at the University of Cape Coast. As an administrative, during my time as an administrative assistant, I had the opportunity to understand certain administrative principles, like scheduling calendars, typing. Learning about ways of using the Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, and other things to initiate what? These are things that you should bring up, because why? You are going to work as an administrator in Rest Life job. The Rest Life job has a lot of things: administratorship, mentorship, leadership, teaching. All these things come together to help you. So bring out how they translate or they align well with the position that you have applied to. These are some of the essentials. Or I am a pragmatic person who like practicalities. That's why I am bringing out some of the important questions, common questions, but your responses may jeopardize your chances. So be very articulative in these things so that it help you yourself well. I mean, as time goes on, if I remember any other thing, I'll bring them out. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go to Manuela to add to what you have already said.
I think Ben has said it all. I think some of the major points he highlighted on them, and I want us to just look at some practicalities. Some maybe the interviewer will ask you, why my lab, or why are you interested in my working with my research group? You know, some people will just or which of the research areas work for you. Some of the responses are not the best. Someone will say everything that works for me, everything that works for me works for you. You know, what you're trying to tell the interviewer is that you did not prepare for the interview. So you have to be confident, be precise, be concise, and also be polite. What I mean by be polite is that sometimes the interviewer will want to see your patient and how those things, and then he will say some question genuinely does not make sense, and or it can make you angry or so. Just make sure that you tone down yourself and then just answer it as you can. Don't tell the interviewer it doesn't make sense or anything, because it happened to a friend of mine. He went for an interview, said whatever the interviewer asked was very nonsense. We don't do that. You do not do that because they are trying to see the personality that they are going to work with. So please take note of that. And also use correct terminologies. That is very important. It's called stipend, money given to your assistant. You don't go and say salary day. I think if it's an American, he will say, "What? What did you say? Come again?" It's like, it can throw the person off. And some of the things, equipment you used, let's say when you conducted an experiment and all that, make sure that I mentioned that earlier, you can explain that effortlessly. And the equipment you use, they also want to know the equipment you use. For example, they'll ask you, so um what instrument did you use in your research? Then he told the person soil pH. Soil pH is not an equipment. It's a soil pH meter, which is used to measure soil pH. So if you do that, the interviewer will think you do not know what you're doing. For example, another example is, what instrument did you use to what instrument or software did you use? Then you say, what software? I mean, programming software, for example, because we are in the programming. Then you go and say Excel. Please, Excel is not a programming software. So please, let's be mindful of our some terminologies we use and make sure we understand the question. Yes. And another thing I want us to also, like Aben rightly said, how you introduce your soft skill and your hard skills is very important. I think he has mentioned that example, so I will skip it. And another one of the major problem is your stipend discussing your stipend, because recently one of my friends went for an interview and he was like, Ella, do I tell the professor that I want my stipend this, I want my stipend? I said no. One thing you need to do is that each state have some ranges of stipend they give to students. Just Google about it, read about it. Because when I was in North Dakota, they were paying us, I think, as a master student, I was paying 1,200 for the month. But in Georgia, it ranges between 27,000 to 32,000, depending on your assistantship. So you don't go and say 60,000. Why? We should give the whole funding to you? No, it's not allowed. So please, my advisor also asked me that about it. And you should know some of the replies. He asked me, Ella, so how much do you want me to pay you? And this was how I went about it. I was like, oh, I was in North Dakota then. And he was like, this was how I replied it. He was like, um, in North Dakota, I'm being paid 1,200. I don't know the range for Georgia, but whatever the range is, I will work with that. And he said, okay, don't worry about it. I got you. So just find a bit to be diplomatic about it, smart about it. Don't go and mention prices that you yourself have never seen it before. So please, let's take note of that, because that can throw the professor off. You
Oh,
would think you just came in because of the money. even though it's kind of parts, you understand. Yeah. So yeah, I think that is one thing I'll add to what Eben said. Yeah.
Then there is also another point question like how will this position help you? What benefit will you get? In this situation, like Ella just mentioned, stipend should be your last point that you should talk about. Talk about how it will help you to understand the classroom things you are learning in their practical terms. It will help you to apply the classroom abstract things in their real life situations. It will help you to also build you as a career professional because in your career, this is what you intend doing. And so, doing this position will help you to understand what the future holds for you. It will help you to groom you well together with your supervisor as you learn under your supervisors. It will help you to also shape you to become the fully fledged professional that you are aspiring to become. And as well, you know that this assistantship will also help you defray some of the cost of your education. That's how it should go. Don't talk about what you get in your pocket. Talk about these are the way you should go about it. Then when in those who are working with professors like Ella said, there are some departments where the amount are fixed, so they may not ask you about how much I should pay you. But in case you are privileged to be asked this way, just like Ella, talk about like in terms of what ranges that the ranges of the state that you are going in. Don't go and mention any figure, but talk in terms of maybe let them decide for themselves. Well, from my background, I don't really know much about how the payment system works over there, but I am ready to go by whichever range of payments plans that it goes in within that jurisdiction or that the state or on the campus there, and so that you'll be on the safer side. Don't bring their mind to you are now going to jaw with them on money and stuff. And no, that's not the case. But emphasize, prioritize the essential skills that you will gain from the position rather than monetary. Yeah.
Let
Thank
me
you.
add this shortly. Also, one thing about research and everything is that research is problem solving. Your problem solving skill is much needed. Some professors want to test that. They'll ask you, how did I remember a friend went for an interview, that same friend, he went for an interview and they asked him that if this problem, I think it had to do with an equipment, and they asked him that if it's fault or if it breaks down, what is he going to do? And he told the interviewer that he's going to call the technician. And that he said, what if the technician is not there? And he said, I'll call the
For goodness
company.
sake.
I'll call the company. And he said, what if the company is not there? So what am I arriving at? So he wants you to solve it yourself. Let last people, the people that can help you be your last, you try to make an effort to solve it first before you bring other people that can. So your problem solving skill is needed here, especially if you're a researcher. Yeah, so that's one thing I want to add to it. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
There are
So
also some of the basic expected questions for those who are into education. They will ask you about your conflict resolution skills, how you solve problem, or how they can pose a question. Can you tell us a time that you overcame a challenge? Here, remember, whenever they ask you, tell me, can you tell us a time? Can you indicate all these things? They are asking for practical experience how you resolve certain challenge, whether by yourself or with a group of people. Tell me how you work with a team. Tell me how a time you overcame a challenge. Tell me how you resolve a conflict on university campus. Or they will also say, it depends on the kind of question. Mind you, they like practicalities. So whatever point you make, do as much as possible to cite practical example, rational. Some people create the examples, but what if, even if some meaningful creation of an example you are creating At least it should be something that is reasonable. It is rational. It is logical to the ordinary mind. So don't be doing like overdo. They are interested in this common things, how you have applied some of the common knowledge. That's why I said you are not going to expect any rocket scientific question that has been cooked or undertaken and have gone through the laboratory system. It is the common things. If it is in the lab, they are not going, because they know you are a student, so they are not going to ask you a question as if you are a professional with 10 years of experience, unless your resume says so. Yes, that's why they will base on your resume a lot. If your resume portray you an an upcoming, that's how they are going to base on it to ask questions. But if your resume portray you as someone who has like gone through the mail, then expect it. They will post like gargantuan ones at your level. But at levels of studentship, master student, uh, going to doctor, they don't ask like questions that you may have no idea about. You may have no idea about. Sometimes a question may be posed that you may have no idea about, but there are ways to go about it. Try to think about the question for some time, pause. But if you are not understanding it, sometimes you see what happens. You can create a question out of the question. You can frame something out of what they have said. I don't know if I'm understanding you well. I think maybe you are trying to say this or that. I am not much familiar with this, but with this, I have, you see, how you have coined something that relates to what they have asked you. If you are not a smart thinker, you should, like, for if you want to go to graduate school, you should be smart, like at least to some extent. You should be sharp in your brains, like how to think and be reasonable as a person who thinks and reason, so that you can be, because not everything that they will ask you will show like I know everything. Yeah. At the time, by the time you realize, they will even say 30 minutes, but by the time you realize they have spent like just 20 minutes, 15 minutes with you. If you respond well. For instance, in my case, during the master's time, they said, okay, we will spend like 45 minutes, because rest life job is I should be frank, like it has a great deal of requirement, okay, because the work is very involving. Therefore, they spend time on you to scrutinize how your understanding about working with student population works, okay. So the first two, three questions we were done. He said she's okay. I checked the time, and the 45 minutes we spent like 20 minutes of the time, and we were done. Just after that, I got a response. So, and I work with the second in charge boss, the main boss, the deputy.
Mhm.
So this wasn't like they were now going to put it before the planning and it's going to climb up. At some point, it is the current GAs, those who are working as a graduate assistant, who will be interviewing you, and then afterwards they will score you and they will submit their scores, and they will come together to see, because you are not the only one they are interviewing. But at my time, right after that, I think that the evening of that day, I got it. Because me, I see it as like how you respond to some questions, because they have gotten what they need. So
Yeah,
they will
yeah.
not, I mean, stress
You
you
delay
that,
or wait.
yeah, that's how it works. So be very smart and be creative. Creativity is part of leadership, okay? And so that you can come out with something. That's part of leadership skills.
Yeah,
Thank you. And
um,
Osman. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
yeah. I think people come with this notion that they want to impress. Just be yourself. Some people do that and they over impress, and it creates another thing. So let's watch out for that too. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then some let me add this last experience. I think with my after I think whilst I was done, it took like 10 minutes for my interview, because everything I had said it in my CV, asked me to describe, everything was on point. And later, I asked a further question. So, how is the climate like? In US, a lot of different areas and weather. So, in North Dakota, it snows a lot, and I'm coming to Georgia. So I asked, how is the climate like? I already know Georgia is warm, and I was like, how is the climate? Because I want to run away from the cold, and he was like, oh, then you're in the right place because Georgia is quite warm. So that even brought change deviated our
Discussion.
discussion to another one. Yes. So that is very important. And you can also, be creative, be nice, and just enjoy whatever you are doing. Who knows? It might even deviate the whole thing, like I
Yeah,
said. Yeah.
even with that, in some, they will always open a door for you to ask them questions. Don't say you don't have any question. There are a lot of
Exactly.
there are a lot of
Exactly.
questions you can ask. Just ask one
Exactly.
simple question. For instance, you can ask them, so how is it like on a typical day in the office? You can just ask a question like that. There's a question also like you can ask them, how do they define success in this position? What is a successful person, or what is success like for this position? You can still even ask them, so what are the expectations? What do you expect from me as a graduate assistant? There is a question like also like, how do you want to be supervised? It's like, what type of supervision works best for you? For me, I was asked this question. I was blunt to the professor that I am that type of person, because knowing that you are going to work in some sensitive areas, you really want to understand the question or the task. So I am that type of person who I want my supervisor to be very attentive to me, because I need to understand certain things, because I want to work to the best satisfaction of my supervisor. I always want to be clear about task. At best, if there are samples or examples of the task that they can show me, or resources that I can get to do the task best, they can, show, because I use my previous supervisor to create a scenario to let them know that with my past supervisor that I work with, I like it so much in that way that during the time whenever he wants me to do something, we have a meeting and he takes me through. I pen everything. Okay, she takes me through this, and right after saying everything, she start pulling out things for me that will help me to work better. So Dr. Mary has been an outstanding supervisor, I would say, that I've worked with so far. And my current supervisors are also amazing. They are so amazing. Dr. Mary stands out to be one of the best, as well as Dr. Boachi Adam, the current Director General for IEPA. He is so amazing, because when he gives you a task, he really gives you like, okay, this is what this person did. Dr. Mary will tell you, hey, Ebenezer, so this is what my past GA did. She mentions the name, and I think I liked it this way, and I showed him to do it this way. So I am that person who really wants that kind of attention. But when you really summarize task for me, I can't be the best for you. I was frank, because working with this cultural group, you have to be very careful. Don't think that you have understood everything and you are going to work it how you understood it. Make sure that you really understand what you are supposed to do. YouTube is at your disposal. Go on YouTube and learn about things, some of the key things in the department, because YouTube is there. My supervisor will tell you, okay, Ebenezer, go to YouTube and type in this. So when I go to know that a lot of things that I need, I can get them on YouTube. Later on, I didn't even start. I stopped worrying my supervisor. So that is how it works. When you ask a question, make sure you understand and be yourself. Don't try to be pleasing. It's okay to please yourself as well. So please, that is how things work. Because one, take note, if you are unable to do things, it is assumed already. Research has resulted how the Western world see international students, especially from African. They think we are dull, we are dumb, and that. So if you really want to be good, make sure you understand what you do. That is one thing that has worked for me, to the admiration of my supervisors. I've gained leadership awards from
Yeah, I
my
remember. Even
so,
masters, yeah, I
yes.
saw them.
So I think that when you really an opportunity is open for you this way, be diplomatic with your words as well. Be conscious of how you are going to state your things. Don't go and say, oh, anything works for me, like Emanuela said. No, not anything works for you. Tell what works for you, so that they will know how to shape you well, how to help you well. I have consistently, used this tool throughout my interviews I've had with anyone whenever they ask me the opportunity. Okay, what kind of supervisor you want? Then I also tell them, I am a very good team player as well as independent. However, I want that type of supervisor who will pay close attention to my needs, who will not leave me to myself. In me, especially you are emailing some supervisors, they are not there for you here and there, yet they expect you to be a superhero or superman kind of thing. I always want that kind of supervisor who can supervise and mentor me to be the best of myself, and to my own supervisors' admiration. I think some of these key issues are important to bring them out in during your interviews. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay,
Uh,
Miss
last
Bredu.
sorry, last one. Some advisors can also ask you to, they can schedule a tour for the for you to come to that campus. Mine, it was done that way. So know how to, especially when you're in the US. When you're in the US, they can schedule that. Oh, come and see whether if you like to work with us and all that. So take advantage of that and work on that. I think that would be very helpful for you to know where you are coming, the nearest hospital, everything. Just explore the town. Yeah. Or if they don't
And
even fund it, you can also tell them, oh, how about I pay you guys a visit? You can also suggest that is if you are cool with that. That is self-funded. Yeah.
And on that particularly, sometimes if they are requesting, they also want to see how you can fare with the team members or the lab members, or if you are into research and stuff. And so how you interact with them during that tour is very essential, because in the end, they're going to ask them whether they feel like you'll be a good team player for the group or something. So you can use that to maximize your opportunities. Here, actually, Osmond also sent some information regarding what he thinks the interviewer seeks to achieve with the interview, right? And he starts in an interesting way. He says, although I am not in the mind of the interviewer, I think they want to confirm the identity of the applicant, since people do apply for others, which is a good point, well made. Cross-check information of experiences as mentioned in the application, statement of purpose, essays, and then publication. You have already dived deep into that. Also know if you are trainable or coachable, and also to check your English proficiency, which is very true in terms of graduate assistantship position. Also to offer, whether they have to offer you, and then if you are a best fit for the program or the position they are looking for. And also they can ask you to know some questions from you. So this is opportunity to ask questions on projects or profiles of the professors, and you also have given other areas where questions can be expected. I did also a little bit of background checks. I have gone through different types of interviews for work and for my PhD studies, and I think masters many years ago, but not to the US, right? So I also did a few research on LinkedIn, and I got some few tips which probably have been covered, but I just want to put them in highlights for our audience who probably joined late, so that um, they can follow adequately. Eben said they asked you to tell about yourself, but the interview begins with the faculty member or the interviewer introducing herself or himself and the faculty and what they do. And maybe if they are panels, they introduce themselves. And then, like Eben said, tell us about yourself. And if it's a PhD, why PhD? And you say you should explain your motivation for pursuing a PhD, and then you should connect it to your long-term goals or aspirations. Why this school or this department? Our audience have already touched on that. If the project undergoing ongoing project at the department falls within your interest and all that, you should bring them up. What are your research interests? Again, you should be clear and concise as much as possible and mention key questions or challenges you want to explore. How does your work fit with the panel's current project? And that is where, if you have not read about them and know what they are doing, you will not be able to answer. So the tips has already been presented by the two speakers already, that in your preparation you should make sure you read about these people and what they are doing and where you fit. And then what will you bring to our department? I'm not going into details because both speakers have mentioned that. Tell us about your previous research. Again, describe your methodology and analysis technique, which is vital for any type of research. And then also discuss how you interpreted your findings. What makes our department the right fit for you? Again, why pursue PhD when you have already achieved so much? And actually, these interview questions are coming from Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. How do you plan to contribute to the academic community here? And our speakers have already addressed that aspect. Share idea for collaboration with peers or faculties. Highlight how you engage in teaching and outreach effort. And then any questions for us? Don't let this one go waste. I have a colleague from Angola. He interviewed for a job. I was sitting there in a room. It was online. And I was so impressed at how he tackled the questions, to the extent that I said one day I will invite him to talk to people. He took control of the interview. The confidence was so high and there, not because he just wanted to be confident, but he had the mastery over the field that he had applied to. And the interview became conversation, where he was even regulating the pace at which the interview should go. And I think interview skills is a skills that can be cultivated, that can be developed. So audience should learn, listen, like you are all sharing the experiences, and learn from this to gain mastery over interview to present the best out of them. The La Unless on the same topic about during the interview, what to expect, unless you have something to add, we will move to the finance um, category, or the last part, which is post the interview, what is required of the applicant. Amen.
I think that um, sorry, you should know your limit, know what you understand and what you are not. For instance, this example that you just created, when you are taking control of an interview, it tells a person who knows what he's about.
Yes, exactly.
So no, don't just be talking for talking sake. I've already indicated it is not about talking for talking sake, but just letting them know at what direction are you taking this thing to.
Mhm.
Be moderate in your speech. Don't talk too much. not too short. Be moderate and communicate important issues.
Right.
Communicate important matters. That is very, very crucial. Yeah.
Thank you. So, Manuela, what should we expect as applicants post-interview?
Post interview, mostly for some applications, January and February, they are reviewing, like when the admissions committee or the PI reviews and all that. One thing you don't want to do is to be sending emails telling them, have you seen my interview? Have you seen my application? Have you seen that? No, it's not the right thing to do. I spoke before this, I spoke to one of those people in charge of these things, and they say they don't like that. It looks like you are desperate or you are pushy. So they don't recommend that. But you can be smart about it. So that is when maybe I'm applying to University of Georgia. I know Aben there. And I'll say, Aben, since you know your way out there, why don't you find out how my application is going? Like Aben knows his way out. He's not going to make it too pushy or too obvious or look like um you are desperate. So he can find a way to find out for you. I can give an example. I had that same friend was applying to my school, and I met the professor. That professor was going to interview him. And then I met her on the veranda, and I was like, "Hi, are you so and so?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh, okay." A friend applied, and that was when I even got to know your name, that you're on this campus. He said, "Oh, really?" He said, "Yes." "What's your friend's name?" And I mentioned it. So, "Oh, okay, he's on my list. I'm so busy, but since you brought it up, I will interview him." Then, but he had the interview with my friend. So my friend was asking me, "Why don't you find out from him?" And I was like, "Her, sorry. Why don't you find out from her how it went and whether she will get back to me?" So I passed by her office for the first time. I saw she was busy and look reading in between the lines. I was like, "No, this is not the appropriate time." So I met her and she was like, "Hi, how are you?" "Yeah, we are still reviewing applicants, and I'll get. I just wish your friend had it." And I said, "Yeah, it will be very exciting that he joined me here because he's suffering in the code." And we started laughing, and I was like, "Where is it?" And I said, "Not the code." I said, "Yeah, yeah, I remember that interview." So sometimes you need to be smart about it. You don't send those pushy emails and all that, and just make sure that whenever
Eben, can you step in? You are muted. I
Yes.
think.
Yeah. I think one thing that most people we fail to do is some of these things that I'm about to talk about. First one, we need to write a follow up, like a thank you message. Okay, maybe within 24 hours of the interview, you should write a thank you email to them, and you express your gratitude and also like repeat or re-emphasize your enthusiasm for the position, and you can just tell them about maybe one thing you learn you were excited about with your interaction with them. That's key. And also after that, you need to reflect on the interview because it may not be the only interview you will have. So after every interview, sit down to take note of the key questions and your responses, and identify the areas that you think that you need improvement. Okay, for your future interview, um, for further going forward if you encounter any interview of that nature. And sometime if for like 2 weeks, after 2 weeks, some of them they tell you the deadlines that you hear from them. The very day that they tell you that you don't hear from them, give like 3 days after the very day, and then send an email asking for a follow-up email for a feedback. Okay. Whenever you are sending a follow-up email, be very mindful of your language, okay, your way, your tonation. That is crucial. So I have encountered someone back at the master's level where one guy when you get admission, some people think that getting the assistantship is it's
Automatic.
automatic, and therefore the school is obliged to give you assistantship. No, the school doesn't owe you any assistantship. The school does not owe you scholarship. It is you yourself, you have to show your merit. And so when you are asking of assistantship or a feedback or a follow-up and you get a negative response, like we are sorry, we can still keep thanking them for even giving you the opportunity to have invited you for the opportunity for the interview, and then maybe you think that you may be a better fit for next time. So that is one thing, and reflect on it, the things that didn't go well, and keep on exploring other opportunities that you think that you may encounter. You need to be professional, and if you get offered to, still also send a thank you message and let them know your excitement for the opportunity that you have gotten. Again, even right after the interview, when they ask you if there's any other question, you thank them for the opportunity that they've granted you, that you hope to hear from them soon, or you hope to hear a positive response. That's all. Yeah. So that's how the after of interviews, I think that it goes. And I think that, yeah, these are cool.
All right. So thank you very much, Eben. And to our listeners and audience, please, if you have any questions, put them in the comment section so that our speakers can touch on them for you. In the meantime, I was hoping that Emanuela will be able to join us. She's having some technical issues. So that we can, yeah, she's here.
Oh, that's technical. Yeah. I think,
Yeah. So Eben stood in for you. So please go ahead with your submission.
yeah, like I said, you should know your limits and then don't be too pushy on them. It's very, very important. Yeah, that is after the interview. Okay.
So far we do not have any question from our audience apart from what we initially received. Let him answer the interview questions from two people, and he has already answered. And yeah, Jima Godwin or Godwin Jima says, "Thank you for bringing that up, Eben. That's one distinct thing for American interview, citing relevant examples to showcase your experiences. In other words, you are to show, not just to tell."
Gadejima
So,
is a professor at Montana State University.
wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
I think
That's
that
really
one
good.
of these days, whenever you organize any, I will let him know. And
And then probably you can
very,
speak to our audience also. Wow, that's insightful. Thank you so much. And I really do appreciate your time and devotion and dedication. Any final words from you, any general advice to our applicants who are looking forward to admission interview, or those who are looking forward to applying in the future to study in the United States? Final words.
okay. I think that for me, on my part, I think I'll repeat the essential things that I've talked about. That you are going to interact with human beings just like yourself. Don't be scared. I mean, take a deep breath when you are about to log in. And the prior preparation, one of the things that we didn't talk about is your timing. Log in about 20 minutes before or 15 minutes before the actual time. Set up your cameras and ensure that you can see, I mean, everything is working perfectly, okay? Sometimes, I mean, what I do is like I just use my Zoom. I create a Zoom, and I we myself and Professor Jima, we do that. Sometimes he creates a Zoom meeting when he has an interview. He creates a Zoom meeting for us to interact, for him to assess the camera qualities, everything, if everything is working well before he knows that this is the position that I took. So you can do that as well. So because you should know that For instance, I once used WhatsApp to do this, and it didn't work well because the WhatsApp and the Zoom platform are separate, and therefore, when you use this one to measure the other one, it may not be a best fit. Be there on time and dress nicely, just like you are going for in-person interview. Okay, don't give a kitchen board background. Give a very nice background or a lighting system that will let them see your face well. If at a time the network gets glitchy, they themselves will tell you to off your camera. For instance, in my case, when I was in Ghana, it worked like for me like that. Sometimes some of them even they don't necessarily need to see your they don't want to see your face. They use the some of them use most of them they use Microsoft Teams. Teams they
Mm-hmm.
don't they just only want to maybe they see your face just a short while, then they tell you to off your camera for a quality, network, and be very audible, clear, and concise. You don't have to coin around something that you want to say. Be very straightforward and cite quality examples that fit well into the job requirement skills or the job responsibilities. Don't beat about the bush because you may not get all the time. You may be found boring. They are there for formality's sake and be watching you after talking. "Oh, okay, thank you for having a good time with us, and you hear from us in maybe 2 weeks time. They are done with you, but be a person who is convincing, who can. It's just like selling your product. Like you are marketing yourself, therefore you should be able to sell such that your buyer will buy them. Okay, that is how interview works. So you should be on top of the game, at least meet them halfway. Okay, so that they can also see what they do. If you merit it, they'll give it to you. It's just as it is because you don't have any control over it. You can be searching for some of the responses. What are some of the responses to that we mentioned some key questions that are important to they are automatic. They are just automatic. Why are you interested in this position? Tell me about yourself. What are some of the skills you have? These are things they will ask you. But I've told you that it depends on how you tell them your response, how you connect your response to the position. That is in the important. Make cite practical examples that make sense to the ordinary person. That is these are the essentials. I wish everyone well in your endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Emanuela,
Yeah, thank
final
you.
advice and comment.
Yeah, I think Eben have said it all. I will just add that these few points: be well prepared, be confident, and then pay attention to body language. Sometimes sometimes you how you position yourself, certain postures can make people think you are being lackadaisical. Meanwhile, that is not the case. So just pay attention to that and don't take things too personal, no matter what. Yes, and then I'm just praying that whoever goes for the interview, and one more thing, yes, practice with people, very important. Practice with people. You can start with yourself in front of the mirror, then you move to your friends and all that. Practice with people. That is very also important.
And they shouldn't make it probably a last minute thing because it will over you if you try last minute. You realize that you are just messing up even with the practice. And
Most of the time, what I do is like I practice, like I use my room chairs and my tables as people, and I'm talking to them and smiling as if sometimes I stand in my mirror.
Yeah.
Like
mhm,
even just before I came here, just before I
mhm,
went to stand in a mirror after brushing my
mhm,
hair like that
mhm.
and smearing my I stood in the mirror and I just like started to introduce myself as if I've never done this before. So that's mostly like give yourself if you are talking to yourself. Then I always look into the mirror and I laugh at myself whenever I'm talking to myself like that. It gives me a certain level of excitement because I love to talk to people. I love to meet new people so that we can, talk about important matters. So I think that you shouldn't, stress yourself a lot. Just prepare. Preparation, and practice. That's important thing there.
And one more thing, some people can go blackout in an interview, especially if you try to memorize some of the questions.
Everything.
Please be very careful with that because if you go blackout, I don't know what's going to happen to you. So let's
Mm.
take note of that too.
You see, I think that, Doc, that is
Yeah.
why I have always personally, in our previous sessions,
Session.
I told you about how I don't hasten, like I don't pressure myself. I want to do this. I go with a pace.
Mm-hmm.
I try what I can. Mostly, how I have done interviews that work for me well is about the fact that I don't try to pick everything in the job description. I try to
Mm-hmm.
see how I relate to some of the things in there,
Of them which are
so that
important.
it will help me to connect, to construct my statement. Okay, they are looking for this communication. You should be able to be a very good communication skills. Then I remember that at the Ghana National Adventist Students Union back in UCC, I was a communication director. How do I connect that? And let me take this opportunity to also, thank my very good friend and brother, Professor Jima Godwin Jima. He was my roommate back in UCC and the same program.
Oh, okay.
Yes. He's a Pensa. I was an Adventist. I think so far the crossbreed things that we have been like blood brothers, we still maintain our friendship like that and our brotherhood. And we talk to each other about things. I ask how these things work, and he formulates them in a nice way for me. Okay, this one you can say it this way because he had already been here, and plus another guy, a friend of ours, William. Both of them they coached me, and when I always also commending others, I also commend myself for the effort that I put in. I was never, a lazy guy during those times. Like I was really putting in the effort, and they saw
Effort.
that my effort merited. That's why I'm always like, when you want someone to help you, don't think that you are pushing everything on them. Yes. And this my friend, Professor Godwin, he knows how I do my things. Me like this, he connects me to guys. Hey guy, this guy want to do this, and I tell them point blank. Man, you know how I work. Sometimes I get slow, how sometimes I go, and so if that person is not serious, don't even connect them with me at all. He knows this kind of principle. Not as if we have not sought the assistance of others, but when we sought the assistance of others, the seriousness that we use for them to even bring out, they tell us things that we have not even asked because they know how we work about things. So I think that when you try to do this kind of connection and you try to request things that matter most, they are the very way of paving the path for yourself, and you just excel. I just did, I think 2 days ago, I committed 2 days for incoming graduate assistants in my program, the master's program, and I did like this same 2 day sessions with them. I did mock interview. No one contact. I did that, and it's like I think these are some of the ways we can also help other people. But most people, when you are trying to assist them, either they want to take advantage or they are not serious themselves. And these things, when you try, will not work with some of us. Me, I will not even mind you in the first place. When I try and I see that you need that energy, you will see me, going black. That's it. So I think everything works for those who really prepare. If it doesn't work this time, maybe next time it will work. So prepare, prepare, prepare. I wish everybody well and all the best.
Thank you all for the almost 1 hour, 50 minutes session with our audience. We can't pay you or thank you enough, but to say God bless you for all the sacrifices. And hopefully, people will one day say that it was because I listened to Emanuela and Eben that I was able to do well in my interview. We thank you for your time and your commitment. God bless you, and hopefully we will meet again some other time. Bye for now.